Hello again, this is Tony Coe, and you're listening to Refinement, Not Retirement, the podcast that's dedicated to our idea that refining your life is better than retiring from it. Now, of course, when I say our idea, who am I talking about? I am, of course, referring to not only me, but my wife and life partner, and indeed co-host, spelt C-O-E, co-host. See what I did there?
Right. Is that the new little pub?
Yes, Christine Coe. Hello, Christine.
Hello, Tony. Hello, everybody.
How are you today?
Good, thank you. Just on my second cup of coffee.
Good, so me too. So, Christine, you were missing from the last episode, which featured my interview with the arts journalist, Kelly Donaldson, a fellow vegan, and also a very dear friend. So you've listened to that interview. What did you think of it, and what thoughts you have about what Kelly had to say?
Yes, I have. I was not surprised by how lovely she was in the way she spoke, her comments, her feelings, because I think I said to you before she even came on, I think she will be great. Having known her a few years now, by meeting her on a vegan cruise, she and I felt clicked very quickly, and I just enjoyed talking to her, and her intellect and knowledge, and the way she'd always been. Well, she'd been a vegetarian, hadn't she, for a long time?
Yes.
And then had turned vegan, and so I thought she was just terrific. She came up with made a few comments. I think the one that stood out more than anything for me was the how much harder it was getting. And I think you asked her the question about being with people that aren't vegan.
Yes.
And I found that I have been feeling that way for quite a long time. I have to block it out of my mind.
Feeling what way? Just explain.
Well, when eating with people that are eating meat and fish,
Yes.
I'm finding it harder and harder. Of course, it's okay when we're locked in our own little world, isn't it? When we're at home and when we're on a vegan cruise, but when we are, in pubs or out for dinner with friends, I just have to put my blinkers on and just not even look, probably a lot of the time, or just block it out, which I can do. But I get sort of increasingly maybe a little bit frustrated, because I feel that really, that there isn't much difference in, like, if you're going to have mashed potato, why you can't have vegan butter in it instead of a different butter. And I mean, I won't go into all the specifics, but and especially just seeing a big hunk of meat on a plate. I mean, that's people's choices, I know, but and I did the same. But these days, as I'm finding it more intolerable, to be honest.
Yes, but of course we must always remember that we've gone through a sort of revolution in our own minds, which other people still feel that eating animals is a perfectly natural thing to do, and I know you do, and we all do, sort of respect their right to choose, obviously, whilst we might try and put our own point of view over in a nice and respectful way, which I know you always do, and I try to do the same, and I know Kelly does too. But we might return to that point about sitting and eating with omnivores a bit later, because it sort of might fit in a little bit with what we're going to talk about today. But today's episode is not about veganism per se.
No.
Today's episode is going to be one of our Silver Power reviews, and by Silver Power reviews, Obviously, this whole podcast, the idea of it is that it's about refinement, not retirement. But we are obviously in our senior years, and one of the things that when I introduced the concept of our Silver Power reviews, and we've already done one on our spa, on our hot tub situation, the whole idea of it is that rightly or wrongly, senior citizens like us are a very powerful demographic these days, and we feel that businesses need to think about our demographic and take notice of our views, which sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So our Silver Power reviews will be, some of them will be positive, like the Happy Hot Tubs review that we did. Some will be perhaps negative, well, some will be negative, and some will be downright ugly. Today, however, ours is going to fall into the former category of being good. What we're going to talk about is our recent holiday in the wonderful Greek island of Crete, known locally as Crete, I think. And there's three aspects of it that we want to, I think, talk about. So first of all, we will be talking about the hotel that we stayed in, and giving you our views about that. And we'll also be talking about a fantastic, wonderful book. We won't necessarily be doing this in the same order, because this is going to be a conversation. It's not going to be particularly structured. A particular book that we read there that was recommended to us and turned out to be a fantastic recommendation to us. So we'd like to make that recommendation to others. And we're going to talk about visiting the area as visiting Crete as vegans, and the particular maybe challenges, how we found that, so that other people who are vegan or vegan curious might like to hear what we have to say about that aspect. So let's start with the hotel that we stayed in. Is that okay with you, Chris?
Absolutely.
And because you are the person who organizes all our travel, and we do quite a lot of it, we're very lucky in that respect. And now that we're in our refinement and not working anymore, we've quit our business, we're able to do a lot more traveling. But let's tell us about how you found it, and tell us about the hotel itself, if you wouldn't mind.
Well, I think I'd just been looking for something during this cold, miserable winter that we'd had up till now, and couldn't really find anything that I felt the need to book and do during the months of, January, February, March, April. And then I think we talked through very quickly that, Crete is somewhere we love. We've got very happy memories of Crete, and we were there last year with the family, and
not only nice. not sorry to interrupt, but not only Crete, but this particular area, which is the Ilunda.
Yes, Ilunda. Yeah. So we just think, well, when we're going for a week, it's nice to know where we're going back to. We know the area. We feel very comfortable there. But we decided to change hotels, and I started reviewing and researching hotels on the other side of Ilunda towards Plaka, which is the little tiny fishing village that overlooks Spinalonga, the leper colony, and came across the Doms Resort, which actually is a Marriott hotel, which I hadn't realized to start with. But I found a beautiful hotel called the Doms Resort, and found a beautiful villa with our own private pool. So
just pausing there, just so that that we are sort of doing a little review here, let's make very clear that Doms is spelled DOMES, and and that is an actual chain of, not a chain, that is probably the wrong word, but that is a brand of hotels. They're not only in Greece, they're in other places.
Yes.
The one that we went to is Doms of Ilunda. Ilunda is spelled ELOUNDA, another fishing village, much bigger one than Plaka. And in fact, Doms of Ilunda is much closer to Plaka, Plaka, which we'll be talking a bit more about,
yes,
than it is to Ilunda, funnily enough. But go on, please.
Yes. So we booked that for 7 nights. I was delighted to hear that up until the end of May, they heat your swimming pool. Last year, we stayed in another hotel where the pool, which we had again to ourselves, was not heated and was not pleasant at all. It was so cold, even for the children, they couldn't even barely swim in it. So that was a real treat to find out that the pool would be heated until the end of May.
Well, I think the key point there is that heated up to the end of May without them charging any extra. So
yes, beg your pardon.
Yeah,
yes,
so you can still get it heated, but
yes,
this hotel, in common with actually an increasing number of hotels now, are charging quite a lot of money. I mean, we're in an energy crisis, so costs are very high, and one can understand why they want to do this. But the actual costs are quite high, aren't they? If you want the pool heated,
I think they're like 150 euros a day. Wow.
Getting to the sort of meat of
okay.
our review about this, what we want to say about this hotel, apart from the fact it's a beautiful hotel. I mean, it's absolutely beautiful. It's in a fantastic location. It has wonderful views of the island of Spinalonga, the former leper colony, which we'll be talking more about as we get further into this talk. So it's wonderful in that respect. But the thing that sticks out, and it not only for us, but also sticks out, and I'm sure you'll back me on this, Chris, it also sticks out in TripAdvisor reviews, other reviews that you'll read online, is how wonderful the staff are. So just if you could just
say a bit about that. 100%. I think from the minute we arrived and taken to reception, the staff were, well, I can't even measure the height of the level of wonderfulness, if that's such a word, wonderfulness. But they were just
they couldn't do enough,
spot on.
They? They couldn't do enough for you. They couldn't do enough.
The smiles, the greetings, even if you were stood around for 10 seconds, they might have thought you were looking for something. How can I help you? Having a good day? What can I do for you? I mean, just they couldn't do enough for you. They were fabulous.
And if I may, just to interject, particular people that I think we would like to mention are Eleni, spelled Eleni, Eleni, which I think is the Greek for Helen, really. Eleni.
Yes, I think so. Yes.
The Greek version of, I should say. Also, we were greeted, well, there were 2 Dimitris. One we were greeted by when we checked in, thank you, who was really excellent. And particular mention also for the other Dimitri, who is senior guy looking after the restaurants and stuff.
I think his badge said service manager.
Did it? Oh, well done. So service manager.
Delightful man. Wow.
Absolutely. And of course, we are a bit of a challenger's guest because we are vegans. We were there with 2 other dear friends of ours, Valerie and Stuart, who are also vegans. We met them on a vegan travel holiday, just like we met Kelly. Vegan travel being a river cruise, particularly a river cruise company. And we've met lots of really, really great friends as a result of that company and those cruises. And we were, a little bit, as the 4 of us were presented quite a challenge because, Greece isn't the most accommodating place for vegans, it has to be said. And I think, you did a lot to sort of help them to do what they wanted to do, which was to delight us, right? And that's what they did.
Yes. I think yes, and it's a shame that we, not guinea pigs, but because they just wanted to, find out what we eat and that ask us, what we would like for meals and stuff, and they would produce it. I would say on the downside is that I think that's something that the hotel should bear in mind, so that the staff shouldn't have to do that. So they're to have a vegan menu in every restaurant, and there are quite a few of them in the hotel, which I think by the end of, I understand it from Eleni, who was wonderful, said, by the time you come back again, we are going to have vegan menus in all of the restaurants.
Yes.
So,
which would be very big help for us, because as you rightly articulate, I mean, we don't really want to go on holiday and have to be having lots and lots of conversations about, what we'd like to eat. We'd really like to have a delicious vegan options already printed out, so we can choose like everybody else does, choose their meal.
Yes, exactly.
And I think that they were very much bending over backwards to make that happen. And yes, as you say, they're going to make further strides in that direction. One particularly outstanding restaurant there was the beach restaurant. I think it was called Tepi or Topi?
Topos, T-O-P-O-S.
And that's where, of course, we met Dimitri first of all. Yeah, I think it's Topi or something. But it's on the beach.
Which is right on the beach.
And it goes back a long way. I think the hotel actually took over an original taverna, and they've made it, they've embraced it, and it's just a fantastic place to eat. But particularly for us, because that was the place we could really get the best food, because they did pasta and nice, spicy, tasty sauces and things like that, which was very, very nice for us.
But I think also the chef should have a mention for down there, because he came to us at the end of the holiday too, and had done some research, and
was his name Christos? Was that Christos? I think
it might have been.
I think that was his name.
Oh, I thought it has something beginning. Yes, it could have been.
I think it was.
But
Christos.
he was trying very hard. And had only been with the hotel a year, and it was. I mean, you could tell that when you arrived at the restaurant, it was much more a fish restaurant. Yes. It was because there was a big
fish tank
there with the fish that you could choose.
Yeah.
So we would just not go anywhere near that first entrance, or I wouldn't look at it. I would just go down.
No, we don't really want to see
into the hotel.
The dead fish
to see that
with their mouths open, looking at us, do we?
Yes, exactly.
But anyway, leaving that on one side, so I think we had a wonderful villa, didn't we, as they called it, and it was right. So we had our own swimming pool, private swimming pool, very nice. We overlooked the Mediterranean, very nice. But the other side,
Mirabello Bay.
Is that what it was? Oh, well done. So the other side, so the front of where our front door was, as it were, we had immediate access across the way into a special area that because we had a villa, we were entitled to go into, and that was called Haute Living. Haute, the French word, Haute, living. And in there we could have, our drinks were included, which was a fantastic benefit. Very nice concierge in there, dedicated concierge for us. Not for us personally, but for people in that section, in the villa section, I think. And of course, they did food as well, didn't they? So they did us some actually vegan snacks for lunch and so on, which was a very, very nice benefit to have, and made the overall holiday a lot more affordable than it would have been had we had to pay for every drink, every lunch. And so on. So I thought that was a great benefit, and full marks to them for that.
Yes, that was fantastic. Yeah.
Right. Now we're moving on swiftly to the next part of our review, which was the book. Now you've mentioned that the hotel is close to Spinalonga, the former leper colony. And we've visited there before, but never before has what it really meant to live there been something
it came alive,
identify. Yeah, the whole island.
It made the island
it just was a bit of a dead, miserable place, because when you think of leprosy, that terrible disease, you sort of go back to the biblical days, don't you? And you think of times, when, I don't know, Jesus was supposed to be healing the sick and so on, and these poor people that were afflicted with this disease were regarded as unclean and all that. That always in my mind went, a long way back in our history. But actually, this story that we read, let's first of all say what the book is. The book is called The Island, simple to remember, The Island. It's written by Victoria Hislop, who is actually the wife of Ian Hislop, the famous guy. I think he's on 8 out of 9, 10 Cats, or whatever that program's called. On programs like that, very bright guy, very funny guy, and also the editor of he's the editor of Private Eye magazine. It's this book. We were recommended by our next door neighbor Lorraine, who I think recommended to you that we read it. I think she was surprised we hadn't read it.
She'd read it. She'd stayed at a hotel down the road in Plaka.
This book
read it.
is a book that is a novel, but it's based on the true history of the island of Spinalonga, which actually is quite recent past. It became a leper colony, I think I'm right in saying it, about 1917. So it's actually not that long ago in terms of historical time anyway. And I think it stopped being a leper colony in 1957 or 58, when they...
No, it was 57.
Okay, good, thank you. When they really discovered that there hadn't really been any point in sending lepers, because what the Greek government decided to do around 1917 time is, there was all this disease happening, particularly on Crete. Crete was particularly afflicted by leprosy. And as soon as someone was diagnosed, the government decided that they must be plucked out of the community, wherever their village was. Their families had to be plucked out and sent across to this tiny little island off the coast of Crete, opposite the little, as you said, fishing village of Plaka.
But it was an old fortress. The island was a...
Yes, the island itself dates back a long time, but its history as a leper colony only spans that actually quite relatively short period in history, and is actually quite recent. I'm not here.
Yes, but the island, just so you know, it was made easy for them, because when they decided that's what they were going to do with the lepers, here was this island sitting there doing nothing. It was a fortress. You couldn't. It was a perfect place, in their opinion, to put people, because it was an island which didn't take very long to go across the water from Plaka and little fishing boats. And also had
ancient buildings, sort of dating back to, a very long time ago, thousands of years ago, Venetian times and what have you. It all had buildings so that they didn't have to start from scratch, because really the people were just sent over there, and they were supposed to fend for themselves. They had to build their own community. They had to establish their own form of governance over there, and all that sort of thing. And so when we used to visit the island, Chris, all those time ago, we just saw it as a kind of dead, as I said earlier, dead, miserable place.
Yeah, derelict ruins,
but
nothing.
Because of this fantastic story that has come from Victoria Hislop's own imagination, but based, as I say, on true events, true facts of what the colony was all about, suddenly it's all come, it comes to life in your mind. This dead place, this dead, miserable place, comes to life, and that actually there was a community there, and people who loved and cared for each other, and I really got that sense, and I know you did.
Well,
too.
yes. Well, it was an enjoyable book to read, although it was, very emotional. We got very emotional, didn't we? But it was, and it was only fiction, but it was enough because those are the sort of stories that probably happened. But to be able to sit and read this book whilst looking at the island, what was incredible. It was just a very moving experience, to be honest.
Absolutely. And of course, her book, Victoria's book, has really been a boost for tourism in that area, because for everybody, not just for us, everybody's getting this feeling, that wow, we had no idea of what happened to these people, these poor people who caught leprosy. We had no idea, and how they lived, and now it's all brought to life. And of course, they're actually, as a result of her book, they're sort of restoring the shops that these people actually ran there on the island. They're painting them, and it's, you know, when we first went, it was sort of, you'd hardly anything there.
There's
Wasn't
nothing there, no. And they're making
seeing
a museum with some, when they found the little, they've got vials, or they called vials, where when they discovered a cure for it, they discovered that it wasn't, you know, it wasn't easily caught.
Yes.
That this, you know, it was a bacteria, wasn't it?
Yes, it's a bacterium.
And it was not, you know, it was not contagious in the way they imagined it to be.
Yes.
And
actually, as you say, you know, it turned out that it was quite difficult to catch. You know, you had to have close contact for quite a long period of time, substantial period of time, and it wasn't transmitted on clothing and you know, especially a little bit like what we've discovered about COVID since.
Yes, and handshaking and touching.
And in fact, really, these people did not need to be exiled and stigmatized, these lepers, stigmatized in the way that they were and called declared unclean. That was actually unnecessary, really, it turned out. Of course, they didn't know that. They didn't have the scientific knowledge at that time. You know, what you might not know is that Victoria Hislop was actually, because of this service that she's done for Greek tourism and this culture, this local culture over there, she was actually granted honorary citizenship of Greece.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's how important this piece of work, this wonderful book, novel. So grateful to our neighbor for recommending it. That's how. So that's our Silver Power review anyway for the hotel, Doms of Alunda, and the book, which I thoroughly recommend. If you're going to read it, try and combine it with a visit to the area so that you get the experience that we did of being opposite the island or going to actually visit it, so that you can really immerse yourself in the history of Spinalonga.
Yeah. So and I would recommend the hotel too. I would highly recommend the hotel.
Absolutely, we no doubt about that. Now, finally, visiting the area as a vegan, Chris. What would you? So you started off this episode by making mention of how you felt about eating with non-vegans and seeing that kind of food. But of course here we were eating with a lot of, I mean, not necessarily on the same table, but we were going into restaurants and, you know, all the time people were offering us lobsters in tanks and all this sort of thing. So that aspect of it, and being a vegan in Crete, can you just say quickly a few words about that?
Well, not in the hotel. In fact, I have to put my hands up. I didn't notice anybody eating anything that put me off in the hotel, because we were on, you know, sitting having dinner ourselves. It was when you went into the villages and had a walk around that, you know, as they do in Greece and all these holiday places there, as you're walking along the streets, they're kind of, come into my restaurant, come in, you know, we go, no, thank you. And if you suddenly mention, well, actually we're vegan, it throws them into a you know, and we don't really have the time to sort of, you know, to stand there and educate them, and we don't want to insult them, and so we just sort of move on and go, no, thank you. But that's part of the course with anywhere, whatever if you don't want to go and eat there. So that didn't bother me at all, and certainly in the hotel I didn't have any qualms about. I mean, I don't think I ever noticed anything on anybody else. I never even saw what other people were eating. And I think,
well, except the thing that you did mention the sort of fish tanks as you walked into the
but again, I knew it was there because I'd see families taking their children up to see it, and you know, the fish would be on ice sitting there, you know, looking at you with their big eyes, but I would just brush it off because my brain has tuned it out. It's as I said, it's not really the eating on holiday so much as the close proximity when you're with friends who are not vegan, and of course most of our friends are not vegan. So that's where I'm finding it a little harder.
So the hotel were, as we said, very good on wanting to give us the sort of food that we want, which is obviously food that doesn't involve in any way animal products. The one thing that wasn't so easy though outside the hotel, was it? I mean, it was more difficult. I mean, all the restaurants try and get you in, with lobsters squirming in tanks and things, and saying, "Look, I can give you this. I can boil this fresh lobster for you," which is the last thing we really want to hear. But and of course they are fishing villages, so they're very much,
yes, that's their livelihood,
based
that's
on
their
that.
life.
So
yes, and
but
I don't mind that at all.
I would say you could get vegan options. Obviously, we got them in the hotel, and you could get them at some of the restaurants. But one thing that they don't really seem to have there is the fantastic, and Kelly was talking about this on the last episode, the fantastic options, the products that we are privileged to have nowadays, that are so plentiful in supermarkets and so on, plant-based products. They just don't seem to have that. It's very difficult to get vegan cheese. It's very difficult to get sort of things like vegan sausages and good vegan burgers and things like that.
But I also think the vegetables, which Kelly mentioned too, and loves vegetables, and so do we. But as you rightly said, being a vegan doesn't mean that's all you eat is a plate of vegetables. But asparagus, we had asparagus at the hotel, which I love. Fresh asparagus. But I mean, I think we're very privileged, because in the UK, with the runner beans and the broccoli and the spinach and all the asparagus and all the fresh fruit and vegetables don't seem to be sort of in abundance. And I wouldn't say that was just Greece, actually. I would say I come home craving vegetables, fresh green vegetables, from abroad. Yeah. It's just, they might do a ratatouille or something like that, but it's all, swimming in oil and tomato sauce. It's the Mediterranean.
Yeah, they do love diet. Their olive oil, don't they?
Yes, yeah, they do.
And the thing that I miss is just the strong taste. There isn't sort of a lot of strong flavors.
No, there's not the sort of they don't do spicy, but that's that's the But that's the way it is when you choose an island, like choose Greece.
But we did, overall, we had a wonderful time there, didn't we? And
we
as
did.
I say, the Hotel Dom Zavilunda was brilliant, and that book was absolutely fantastic. Anything else that you want to say before I wrap up? Because I
don't think so. I just think I'd like to say a big thanks to Eleni and Dimitri particularly, because they really made our holiday very special. So I would do a big, thank you
big
to
applause.
them.
Yes, they
yes, a big applause to them.
Great. Okay, so let me finish up by mentioning, as I do often, we're a young podcast. Our audience is growing steadily. Thank you very much for everything, dear listener, that you're doing to help us achieve our aim of building our audience up. You can watch us actually recording this on video. A podcast is really an audio medium, but nowadays video is available, and we're on Spotify for podcasters, used to be called Anchor, and you can, as long as you've got the Spotify app, you can watch us recording these episodes on video. You can also watch us, if you prefer, just by going to our YouTube channel, which is called the same thing, Refinement Not Retirement. We also have a companion blog, which we post some more comprehensive information on from time to time. There's also our Facebook page, where Christine puts images that go along. Will you be putting some up, Chris, on the Facebook?
I should actually, yes. I haven't done for a while, so sorry.
You can see, because it would be nice for you, I think, dear listener, to actually see what we're talking about, pictures of Spinalonga and
actually, yes, that's a great idea. We'll do that.
So Christine will kindly be doing that. If you can continue to help us by subscribing to our YouTube channel, sharing our podcast, and liking, and all those things that one is always asked to do when it comes to social media, that would be greatly appreciated. But for now, it's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me, everybody.
Bye, everyone. See you next time.
Bye
Bye for
bye.
now.